Hello everyone, welcome again to another video our Ferdinand tutorials. Today we want to talk about a particular topic that will interest you. Our topic today is prokaryotes and lower eukaryotes. Good. This topic is actually in chapter 5 of your textbook. It's in chapter 5 of your textbook. For Imo State University students, it's in chapter 5 of your textbook. Now let's talk about this topic, prokaryotes and lower eukaryotes. When you hear about prokaryotes, what comes to your mind? When you hear about eukaryotes, what comes to your mind? So there are a lot of differences, between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Some of us will be saying that, prokaryotes lack nucleus, eukaryotes contain nucleus. Prokaryotes are lack membrane bound, eukaryotes possess through membrane bound. Yes. The major difference between these two is that prokaryotic organism or prokaryotes, they are organisms that lacks through membrane-bound organelles. When we're talking about organelles, we're talking about organelles like the nucleus, we're talking about organelles like the cell membrane, we're talking about organelles like the mitochondria, talking about organelles like the Golgi bodies, the nucleolus. Are we together now? So when we say prokaryotic organism, prokaryotic organism are organism that lacks through membrane-bound organelle. So that means they have forced membrane-bound organelle. So when we're talking about the eukaryotes or eukaryotic organism, so eukaryotic organism are actually organisms that have through membrane-bound organelle. I've mentioned some of the organelles we have, right? Good. So now, not all eukaryotic organisms are multicellular. Sometimes we confuse, these two things together. I was in class last week, so I asked my student, because this was a topic I taught last week in my offline class. So I asked a student, say, what can you give me as a difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes? She said that prokaryotes are unicellular, eukaryotes are multicellular. That is not a complete definition, right? Apart from, what I said earlier, distinguishing prokaryotes from eukaryotes, I want to add something that when we are talking about prokaryotes, prokaryotic organisms, prokaryotes are usually unicellular, one-celled organism. Now, when we are talking about eukaryotes can be unicellular, can also be what? Multicellular. Are we together now? So prokaryotes are usually unicellular organism, one-celled organism. But when we're talking about eukaryotes can be unicellular and can be what? Multicellular. So in eukaryotes, we have higher eukaryotes and lower eukaryotes. So when we hear about lower eukaryotes, there are eukaryotes that are what? Unicellular. And that is what we want to discuss today. Lower eukaryotes. Prokaryotes. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So now, before now, we normally classify organisms into two kingdoms. Plant kingdom and then animal kingdom. Where we have kingdom Animalia and then we have kingdom Plantae. Where we say that if an organism is not plant, it should be animal. If it's not animal, it should be plant. But as we progress in the scientific study, Haeckel said something. I think in 1866, he said that organisms are grouped into three kingdoms. He said that we have the kingdom Animalia, we have the kingdom Plantae, and then we have the kingdom Protista. That was what he said in 1866. So, but as we progress in the 20th and 21st century, we divided organisms into 5 kingdoms. And that is what I will explain to you now and then give you some examples of organisms found in this kingdom. Now we have what we call the kingdom Animalia. We have the kingdom Animalia. We have the kingdom Plantae. We have the kingdom Protista. We have the kingdom Monera. And then we have the kingdom Fungi. I hope you are with your notes. Please, I usually talk about this thing. If you're here and then you're not writing something down, you're not actually doing the best for yourself. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it is expected that as I'm discussing some of these concepts, you have some notes where you record these things down, where you write them down. Are you getting it? For further study, so that later you can come back and say, okay, I watched this video, from this guy's YouTube channel and he said something valuable. And then you can refer back to it. Are we together? So now these are the 5 kingdoms, that we have. Are we together? So now in Animalia and Plantae, they are higher eukaryotes. Organisms that belongs here. We have human, we have rats. Are we together now? They are kingdom Animalia. Now, when we're talking about kingdom plantae, organism that belongs here, we have mimosa plants, we have green plants. Are we together now? There are organisms that belong here. So, but in this topic, prokaryotes and lower eukaryotes, we'll be looking at these three kingdoms: kingdom protista, kingdom monera, and then kingdom fungi. Are we together now? Now, when we are talking about kingdom protista, examples of kingdom protista, we are looking at protozoas. We are looking at what? Protozoas. Protozoa and algae. They are examples of what? Kingdom protista. Now, what are the examples of protozoa that you know? Can you list them? Okay, let me give you some examples of protozoas, right? We have Plasmodium. Plasmodium is an example of a protozoa. Are we together now? We have Euglena. We have Amoeba. We have Paramecium. Are we together now? We have Gaidea. We have Trypanosome. Now, these three are disease-causing protozoas. This man here causes gut infection. Trypanosome, causes sleeping sickness. Are we together? It's a protozoa that causes sleeping sickness. Plasmodium is also a protozoa that causes what? Malaria. Are we together now? So, when we are talking about kingdom protista, we're looking at organisms present here. We're looking at protozoa and then algae. Now, in algae, we have different types of algae. We have blue-green algae. Are you there? So, we have different algae. We have red algae. Some of them are found in terrestrial and then in the aquatic environment. Are you getting it? So when we'll be talking about kingdom monera, you'll be seeing that we have what we call blue-green algae as an example of kingdom monera. Now, blue-green algae is usually found in an aquatic habitat, whereby algae on its own is found both in aquatic and then in what? Terrestrial habitat. Are you getting it? In my next video, when I'll be talking about trophic levels, I will tell you how green plants and algae manufacture their food. So when we are talking about manufacturers, we are looking at two things. We're looking at green plants and then we're looking at photosynthetic algae as what? Food manufacturers. So that is that. For example of protista, kingdom protista, we have protozoa and then we have algae. And then for kingdom monera, we have bacteria. Very important. And then we have what? Blue-green algae. Meanwhile, in kingdom fungi, we always have what? Fungi. Example, mushroom. Are we together now? Now, I want to say something about bacteria. Bacteria are, microorganisms that are essential. Some bacteria are essential. That is one grouping microorganisms. For those of you that will be doing your MCB 201, Microbiology 201, Introductory Microbiology, you begin to hear lecturers talk about, organisms that are useful, organisms that are harmful or deleterious, and then organisms that, don't pose any effect to man. We have some organisms, some bacteria are very useful to man. Some are actually harmful, like the Vibrio cholera. You understand, like bacteria Vibrio, it causes Vibrio cholera. We have some useful bacteria too, like Saccharomyces. Are we together now? And then we have some that doesn't produce any effect to man, either harmful or beneficial. So now, blue-green algae found in aquatic environment, that helps, organisms to grow, by allowing itself to be fed on and all that. So in fungi, kingdom fungi, we say that examples are mushroom. They are decomposers usually. Are you getting it? So now when I want to classify prokaryotic and then lower eukaryote, prokaryotic organism here is what? Is monera. Kingdom monera, like bacteria and blue-green algae. They are prokaryotes. Are you getting it? Meanwhile, lower eukaryotes are protistas and what? Fungi. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying. Lower eukaryotes are what? Kingdom protistas and what? Kingdom fungi, like protozoa, algae, and what? Fungi. Now, I want to give a difference between something. We have celled organism and then we have acellular organism. When we are talking about celled organism, remember in the cell theory, we said that all organisms arise from what? Cells. Are we together? Now, that means that cell is an important, part of every organism. So you first of all see a cell, you then see a tissue, then an organ, a system, and then you talk about what? An organism. Are you together now? So that is the cell and cell theory. And when we're talking about a cellular organism, a cellular organism are organism that doesn't possess any cell. Example is the virus. Let me explain. Virus doesn't possess any cell when outside the body of a host. What it simply means is that when virus is outside the body of a host, its whole activity stops. It doesn't replicate, it doesn't do anything until it attaches itself to the host. It will skyrocket. It start replicating, start acting. By then, it's no longer an acellular organism. Since it's inside the body of a host, it's not a cellular organism because of its activity. I don't know if you get what I said. So I just wanted to introduce this topic, prokaryotes and lower eukaryotes. In our next video also, we'll be looking at bacteria, because it's more like the most important, organism in this class. Are we together? We're looking at bacteria. We'll be looking at, the nutritional bacteria, like how we classify bacteria according to their nutrition, classify bacteria according to their oxygen requirements, according to their shape, and all the rest. You know how we do it. So if you love this video, I will, ask you, I will plead with you to share this video. I know by now you've liked this video because we've said something that is valuable to you, because when you like, you help recommend this video to other people. That's how YouTube works. And if you've not subscribed, what are we doing? Click on the subscribe button right away and then share this video with your community. See you again in my next video. Bye for now.